Loki, with his insane, multi-layered plan that transcended past what every god and human thought was possible, was moments away from defeating the mighty Simo, teleporting into the sky with his iconic weapon we saw previously in the series, inching closer to the White Death's head, about to claim the victory of round 11. However, the greatest sniper in human history's bullet was simply too fast. Another headshot has indeed been landed, while he barely dodges the god's attack. That's right, Simo has killed, defeated Loki and won round 11 of Ragnarok. Absolutely wild, and is outright confirmed by the victory box as well. I know I've seen many of you comment down below that Loki must have, and it's kinda stupid to believe the round is over. However, based on his body disappearing into nothingness, Simo falling down from the required sacrifice of his organs and damage sustained from Loki's final attack, alongside the insane reaction from everyone watching, and Brynhilde officially declaring Simo as the winner with the confirmation of the round's length and everything else associated, I think it's safe to say it's over unless the biggest twist of all time in Ragnarok is going to occur next month, but we can only wait and see that. Today I'll be breaking down the entire final chapter of this fight, that being Ragnarok chapter 105, with it being important to note that technically based on time this isn't the shortest round. Thanks to some of you mad lads who pointed it out, Adam vs Zeus is actually the shortest, Loki vs Simo is now the second, but based on chapter count, this is similar to Apollo and Leonidas when it comes to length. It's just the circumstances around what occurred throughout the fight doesn't seem like a lot has happened, but I will be making a video breaking down the entire Simo and Loki fight, so if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed here on the Mysterious Weeb channel for all the Ragnarok content you need. So before I go over the full breakdown of the chapter, I think I need to say that Simo is absolutely goated. In my previous initial reaction video, I mentioned some of my issues I had with Simo's character throughout this round. However, on reflection, him not saying really anything or having any inner monologue was actually another appealing factor about him. Bro came in here with all business. We got his flashback to learn about his PTSD and salvation, being forced to shoot down all these people, including a god, something he does not want to do but he simply has to, and dominated the Norse god throughout the entire fight. Based on everything that happened, the only damage Loki landed on Simo throughout the entire round was his final swing of his iconic divine weapon that Simo was able to dodge after headshotting the god, slicing up his head somewhat, but the majority of damage and reason Simo falls to the ground here is due to the damage suffered from his Valkyrie ability. So definitely a one-of-a-kind performance in all of Ragnarok. We've never really had a human win in such a way after 100 plus chapters, so this is without a doubt wild. All the expectations, anticipation and hype from the fandom was definitely delivered for Simo, I would say at this point, alongside the ending in this fashion being one of the most shocking rounds as well. A lot of people were coming to the conclusion that Loki was going to win this round due to a number of factors, whether it be plot armor, his importance to the overall Ragnarok story, and the fact that going into the final rounds, it would make more sense for the gods to be in the lead. However, Simo has acquired the victory regardless of that. Humanity is now in the lead, bringing us to round 12, where humanity's next fighter may be cooked unless, boys, the draw. Remember, it is always possible. But let's break down the chapter before I go too crazy. So boys, the chapter begins with Jack the Ripper providing a breakdown of Loki's plan and what has occurred in the fight thus far. Something I believe is a pretty good touch when you consider back during round 4 when Jack defeated Hercules. Loki was the one to explain what he did, reveal that Jack outplayed everyone including all of the gods. So the Ripper providing some respect to Loki in this regard, and then sanity of his plan, and kinda admitting inferiority to him in some capacity is another factor that may be expressed or can be argued about at a later point, but I think including this is a pretty good thing to do. However, one thing I will say that is somewhat of an issue is that a large chunk of this chapter and the final chapter dedicated to this round and fight is Loki explaining what he did, something most of us already came to the conclusion about. He does provide some needed clarity, confirming that the previous bullet Simo unleashed at the Hercules was in fact Loki, but using Hercules as a clone or transforming into him to a degree, but it's more so depicted as using him as a coat, in the sense Simo has that 100% accuracy. Loki is well aware of that, so he uses the bigger frame of Hercules as a way to survive Simo's attack here, due to Loki naturally being much smaller and only taking the shot in his arm rather than in his heart or anything like that, allowing him to catch Simo off guard in a sense. Those aspects are good, but we don't really need the insane explanation and reminder of everything that happened. It has filled up too many filler pages when it comes to the entire chapter, at least for me personally. But when it comes to the positives and the outcome of Loki's greatest divine trick, his plan was to simply catch Simo off guard with this trick and slice him up from behind, winning the round, no problem at all, flexing on everyone watching, and of course, getting to see his love Brunhilde, what he's capable of. And I also would like to point out something I wasn't really agreeing with that a lot of you guys pointed out in last month's chapter. The bird that was flying around actually related to Loki's ability to see everything across the arena and was used in this situation as well. But the Mad Lad Simo had yet again another aura farming moment. After shooting the Hercules that Loki was disguising himself as, he didn't turn to the other Loki and Thor attacking from behind. He stayed locked on the Hercules, seeing through Loki's trick in a sense. Absolute Mad Lad energy, and one of the greatest panels when we see Loki freaking out once again, getting ready to load his weapon with another organ, which this time was his pancreas, forcing Loki to make some adjustments. Therefore he teleports to the bird into the sky, another one of his abilities that Simo shouldn't be aware of unless bro is absolutely goated beyond belief. Something we can't really say from Simo's perspective because bro did no talking or provided any inner monologue. He was just locked in no matter what. But Loki teleported, freaking out everyone watching. This notably includes Buddha, who has future sight and should be seeing the future, but I think that's an inconsistent thing throughout Ragnarok when it comes to his reactions since his round. But he unleashes his iconic divine weapon, the thing we've been waiting for pretty much the entire round. But Simo yet again was able to turn and take out Simo with the board, as I explained. We have Loki and Brunhilde thinking about their time together, Loki once again expressing his love, but Simo was simply him and provided the anti-god killing technique, Heaven's Afterglow, and defeated Loki regardless of his plan, regardless of his teleportation. Everything that Loki could simply do was overcame with no issue at all. With Simo indeed doing that 360, loading his pancreas into the board when Loki was in front of him, then turning around to unleash it and once again land at 100% accuracy sniper shot, claiming the glorious victory. And honestly, sacrificing less organs and unleashing less bullets than what I initially expected when we learned what his ability was. But an insane round, something I still wish was longer, but has its promise and hype. I will be waiting for next month's chapter before I make again any definitive claims on the round's ranking, because there always is a possibility with stuff people are saying about Loki, but I'll probably address that in the next Record of Ragnarok video, so stay tuned for that. That's it guys, peace.